Rally Up Winston. Project Ground Zero. Every superhero should have some themes. This is the theme. Oh my. It is Friday night, and you guys are now officially tuned into the booth. This your girl, Keita Sweet. And y'all already know how we get down. Happy Friday. I mean, at this point, I'm just excited, excited about life, living my life, the best life I could possibly live. I hope y'all are doing the same. But tonight we're gonna pop this thing off and get it started. We got I done drew a blank there. Cause I'm about to call you Richard. You Richard. Corey, Richard, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's the Rally Up Winston presents Project Ground Zero. Real talk for a real time. Y'all know I'm about to get all up in this because I turned into Al Sharpton in a minute. Oh, we about to fight the power of self-destruction and everything. We about to bring that back. But we glad to have y'all here doing something real positive. So Corey, just introduce yourself. Like tell the folks what's the Rally Up Winston-Salem is all about and the Project Ground Zero. We got you started. Let's just get into it.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Keita. Well, before we get started, Richard and I, we believe in chivalry in Winston-Salem. So, as a token of our appreciation, we wanted to.
You're gonna make me cry.
We wanted to give you these roses, and we just wanted to tell you that. So, we really appreciate you for. Go ahead and get it.
Model it.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, two-step.
I gotta get them a wave.
Miss America, y'all.
That is nice. Yes, I appreciate that.
Oh, it's no problem.
Dope. I appreciate that.
No problem at all. So we
That's all right.
No, it's no problem. As aforementioned, we just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here. And that's just a small token of our appreciation for you allowing the organization an opportunity to put this in the airwaves. So we just want to tell you thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. Let's put it in the air. What we got going on? What
yes, ma'am. Well, my friend, my brother, we are co-founders of an organization. It is an anti-gang and street violence organization called Rally Up Winston-Salem. And the reason why we formed this group was because in 2016, there were 24 homicides in the city of Winston-Salem. And then last year in 2017, there were 25 homicides. And about 90% of those homicides were attributed to gun violence alone. So we decided to consequently form this organization to combat the wiles and nuances of senseless gun violence in our city. But just like every other organization, the one commonality that we have is, as I alluded to earlier, we just want to stop the senseless violence.
Right.
But one of the things that's pretty much unique about us is that we include a plethora of people, ranging from educators, mentors, life coaches, and we even got people in the medical field involved as well, as people such as anger management, people that deal in the mental diagnosis field as well. So we have invited everybody in that particular arena because you have to have everybody in order to make this goal come to fruition.
Okay. So you look young. I'm just gonna say that. You look real young. You really don't have a lot of young, well, at least I don't come across a lot of young guys who are just in tune to what's going on in their community. So what got you focused on doing that, trying to make a change and a difference in your area?
Well, two things in particular, Keita. I was a victim myself of gun violence on 2 occasions. So yeah, that was one of the things. And then another thing is I actually reside in East Winston-Salem, which is pretty much ground zero of where these occurrences take place.
Oh, wow.
I have a 4-year-old son. And so that was the most important thing for me. I didn't want it to be a situation where my son and I were getting out the car because prior to the job that I work now, I was getting off at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, where a lot of the gangbangers and a lot of those travesties were taking place. I didn't want it to be a situation, Keita, where my son and I were getting out the car and we just happened to be bystanders. So to answer your question in summary, I'm scared. I just got to keep it 100. I got to keep it real.
Right.
I'm scared not only for myself, but more importantly for my son and other kids in his age demographic too. And we're just tired of seeing mothers crying. No mother should have to explain why their 20-year-old son is in the
Right.
graveyard due to something senseless. No
Right.
mother should have to explain to people why, they're not being buried instead of having to bury their child for something that made absolutely no sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I can dig that. So when you say you were a victim, may I ask,
Absolutely.
what happened? What did you find yourself in?
Well, basically, I was a victim of an armed robbery, as aforementioned, on 2 occasions. The most recent one was actually at my job. The guy came in. He actually left a note on my desk. And when I looked him in his eyes, Keita, I could tell he was extremely serious. He showed me his firearm, and he told me, and I quote, "Don't do it, give me the money." You know what I'm saying? So I went through the proper protocol, went through the proper procedures of doing what I had to do. I transferred him the monetary funds, and he got away. But the trauma that I felt, not only during that time but afterwards, had a myriad of effects on me,
Right.
ranging from anger, disappointment. I was vengeful. I was scared. All of those things went through. So
That's serious.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
You know what?
ma'am.
I probably would have passed out. Jesus, on
Yeah.
Sunday morning. I don't even know what. I mean, that's just something that you don't think about when you get up in the morning, is to say, well, shoot, I might get robbed today. I mean,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, that's got to be a scary situation. So out of that came this.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. And even though I wasn't actually struck by a bullet or hit
Right,
or
right,
anything, this, the fact of the matter is that it could have happened.
Right.
It could have happened. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, daily, man, I'm facing different emotions and different things in my mind, just trying to not only cope with it, but hopefully superseding that.
Right. So what do you find in Winston? I mean, because I know just from looking at the news on the day-to-day that it's pretty common that you're
Yeah.
going to hear somebody
It's crazy,
got
man.
shot,
It's crazy.
somebody's died or whatever the case may be. So what do you think is lacking in your city that has all of this, I guess, gang activity at its highest point? Like, what is the city actually missing for these kids to be in these gangs?
Yes, ma'am. It's funny that you mentioned that, because to answer that question, Keita, a lot of people are so quick to say, "Oh, the home life," or
Right.
"Oh, these young men or young women, they don't have anybody to turn to."
Right.
But what we have to understand, Keita, is that that's not the sole precipice of why
Right.
these people are joining these gangs. That's not the sole
Right.
precipice of why people are engaging in these activities.
Right.
One of the things that we're missing, Keita, to answer your question, is conflict resolution. When Richard and I were growing up in the 90s, if we fought, we duked it out, that was it.
I mean, yeah, that's
You know what I'm
what
saying?
it was like that in
Exactly. Exactly. In the 80s and 90s,
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
you
Hey,
fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got into a conflict, y'all might have
Yeah.
scuffled, y'all might have tussled. Next thing you know, y'all playing Nintendo, Sega Genesis 5 minutes
Right.
later. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was your conflict resolution. Whereas now, I think that's one of the things that we lack. Now, to be honest, I don't know what the definite answer is of why we lack that particular component to why these young men and young women can't resolve conflict without resulting to a firearm. I do, with that being said, I also think that proper mentorship and genuine mentorship is missing. We had something yesterday called our Direct Effect Forum, Keita, and what that was is basically we had 3 panelists speak at Rally Up Winston-Salem. And basically these panelists, they gave their testimonies about being direct victims of gun and gang violence. And one of the things that was brought up was the church. And I hate to offend any religious affiliation or faith-based orientation, but a lot of people are disappointed in the church because you have a lot of these big name pastors that they get involved, but they don't get involved.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They say things, but they're not in the projects.
You just on the surface.
You just on the surface.
Right.
You ain't in the hood. You ain't talking to these young men. You ain't really
Right.
talking to these young women. But when big things that bring in some great fiscal income, you're there. You know what I'm saying? So as aforementioned, you have mentorship, but not really. So that's one of the other components that's missing as well.
So with conflict resolution, because we do that in the mental health field, as part of helping someone, cope with things that have taken place, outside of here. This is what we do here.
Yes, ma'am.
It's mental health. But do you think that's more or less, would you consider that like a schooling situation or problem that is lacking in the school system as well as lacking in the home?
It can be looked at both ways. I'm going to play devil's advocate for both components because in the home dynamic, that's where everything starts. I mean, that's just it, point blank, period.
Right.
Because once everything is taught and learned at home, then in turn those children and young adolescents and young adults, they'll take that to their school demographic. You know what I'm saying? But then as far as the school part, I also, I understand that dynamic too. Granted, as I alluded to earlier, you have educators that are in the system and they're teaching, but it's not like it was when you and I were coming up. You know what I'm saying? The teachers are just there. Just a lot of times, not all, because there are some still genuine, really good teachers that genuinely care, but it's only a handful. So, I think that you can look at it from both dynamics, and you just got to try to find some common ground.
Got you. So from I guess from an activity standpoint, how often are you guys getting together? Like, is this something that's weekly?
We actually meet every third Thursday of the month.
Okay.
And in between that time, we're actually planning. Sometimes, outside of the meeting, we're going out to these recreation centers and we're gathered, we're talking to the children. If we're not talking to the children, we're actually talking to the parents. We're also attending other forums. We have actually aligned and partnered ourselves with a group called the LOC in Winston-Salem. And what that is, Keita, they're called the local organizing committee. They are basically made up of the Brothers of Islam, and much mad respect to those brothers. When I say those brothers get down, those brothers get down. They are for their community. Granted, I am Christian, but you got to play homage where homage is due. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the nuance of community and people are stepping out, you got to respect that.
Right.
But as I alluded to earlier, we have partnered ourselves with that particular organization, and we also do things with them where they do rallies and peace walks in the neighborhood. And we also have a situation where we're trying to gather the black community in Winston-Salem to basically be able to govern ourselves, where we don't have to call the police like they did in the 60s and 70s, you know what I'm saying, where there wasn't law enforcement involved. If you did something down the street, if you was a dope dealer, then bro, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying, straight like that. If you was out doing things that were counterproductive in the community, particularly the black community, then we're gonna address it. And if you don't want to comply, then you gotta get up out the neighborhood. So those are the things that we're doing outside of meeting weekly.
Okay.
Well, every third Thursday, rather. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Okay. So since you mentioned law enforcement, what's your take on this whole police and police brutality that has skyrocketed to the damn roof at this point?
Absolutely.
It's like every time you turn around, we are seeing that as well. So what's your take on that in the community that you live in? What are you seeing with that?
In short, just to answer your question, I feel that any officer of the law that commits these travesties should be tried in the judicial system, and I think that if found guilty, especially if they're seen on camera, I think that they should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And one thing that makes me absolutely sick is when people say, oh, we talk about social injustices, but what about all the black on black crime? Nah, man, you delving from the situation. You know what I'm saying? I even asked the question one time, I asked my brother Richard, I say, hey, listen, man, I know we're talking about, the African-American communities and what's going on in our particular dynamic, but I'm starting to wonder now if Rally Up Winston-Salem needs to target the police too, because in some fashions, they act like a gang too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's real.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm starting to wonder, do we need to attack them? Well, not attack them, but do we need to address them as well? Right. So that's my take on that, man. I mean, if they are found guilty on camera, you know what I'm saying, and it's clear evidential reason that, they committed the crime that they committed, then they should be punished to the full extent of the law. Hands down. Bottom line.
So do you have some law enforcement supporters?
We actually do. A lot of them are actually retired officers because they have a lot of familiarity with the gangs and the neighborhood conflicts that go on. And so they just basically give us their intake, and sometimes they put us in line with people, who can better scratch the surface about the dope dealing and things like that, things that may consequently cause these neighborhood conflicts in this gang violence. So to answer your question, yes, we do have law enforcement involved, but it's only to a small degree. Because what I tell people all the time, Keita, is that we're not the police. Right. And in order to gain the trust of the younger demographic, young men and young women that are committing these travesties, they got to gain our trust. They got to see, man, that it's not us against them. I tell people in the middle class demographic all the time, and even the church folk, Keita, you know what I'm saying? You cannot be scared to go out there. You can't be too high and mighty to talk to the dope boys. You know, like with the Project Ground Zero, yeah, we want to have law enforcement there, but I don't want no badges being shown. You know what I'm saying? I want to keep the peace. But in the same token, the ultimate picture is we want to have everybody there. Everybody. I want the Crips. I want the Bloods. I want the MS-13s. I want the dope boys. I want the
that's what I was about to ask from a gang standpoint, because like mostly on the news when you hear about a shooting, it's really just either there's no suspect, or if you do have a suspect, it's like a one individual. It doesn't come across as if it is gang violence or gang activity. So has like at some point, I'm assuming like gangs have grown and just taken over the area, or they just like out broad daylight and just almost
it's
like
crazy. You know what?
When the lights go down, do they just all come out, or I'm curious to know, outside of like Bloods and Crips and the MS-13, is there something like new developments of gangs, or just the same?
You know what? A lot of these guys, to answer your question, they are developing new fads or organizations or gangs, for lack of a better term. We are gaining and we're developing a sense of familiarity with that or whatnot. But a lot of it, to your point, you are right. A lot of it is not always gang related or gang affiliated. Sometimes it's just a situation where it may be you live on the other side of town. You know what I'm saying? And we beefing, even though we don't know what we beefing about. You know what I'm saying? We were just born into this. We were kind of grandfathered into this thing, but we got beef.
Right.
So a lot of times, it is gang affiliated. It's a catch-22 with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So at this point, since you started, have you had any young men to actually come out of the gang that you know of that's, listened to you and has taken heed to what you're saying and kind of that's changed their lives around?
We've had situations where we have been able to witness, you know what I'm saying, and talk to young men. Now, I got to keep it 100. I don't know if it's a situation where they have converted over or stopped doing what they're doing, but I can guarantee you, Keita, like when we've talked to them, the seed has been planted. I'll give you an example. One time we actually had a citywide prayer at the place that we're actually doing Project Ground Zero, which I want to talk about a little bit about in a few. If time allots that.
Yeah, go ahead.
We actually had a citywide prayer, and when we came there, guys were shooting ball, you know what I'm saying, doing what they do or whatnot, and we had asked one of the guys if they wanted to come pray with us, you know what I'm saying, and one of them had actually confessed that he was in a gang, you know what I'm saying, but you can look in his eyes and you can tell by the statistics that we were pointing out about all the lives that were being lost senselessly, you know what I'm saying, that it was beginning to prick his heart. And that's what we're about, man. We at least want, if we can't save everybody, you know what I'm saying, like we at least want to plant the seed. We at least want to plant that seed because we know that seed, it takes time to grow, it takes time to develop, but eventually it will be made manifest. Yesterday, another example, Keita, not yesterday, I'm sorry, was it Wednesday? It was Wednesday when we passed out flyers about Project Ground Zero. I had approached 5 young people, 2 young girls, and 3 young men. All of them had the leopard prints on, you know what I'm saying, the paws on their shoulders or whatnot, and they had the teardrops on their eyes and everything. So when when it was crazy, and I was like, Lord, you're gonna have to walk with me on this one now, Lord, like for real. So, and all I'm doing is just passing out flyers.
Right.
So Keita, as I'm approaching the vehicle, you know what I'm saying, they doing what they do. They all got blunts, even the young women. You know what I'm saying? I looked in the car, dude had a 1/4-pound bag of weed, and they probably was packing. They probably, you know what I'm saying, probably had something in the vehicle. But I came there, introduced myself, showed them the flyer, let them know what the Project Ground Zero and what the community initiative was about. You know what I'm saying? And one of them had told me, hey, bro, look, man, I really appreciate what you're doing, bro. But look, I'm going to tell you right now, man, you don't need to be inviting all the neighborhoods. Because if I see somebody from another neighborhood, I'm blowing off. You know what I'm saying? Whatever blowing off means. Right. I think I know what that means. You know what I'm saying? But that's what he told me, you know.
Okay, thank you.
And then when I told him, I said, okay, you know what I'm saying? That's a good point. But I looked him square in the face, Keita, and I told him, all right, that's cool. But you can do that. But remember, with that thing we call a president in Washington, D.C., when you act like that, you giving him exactly what he want.
Right.
And surprisingly, I didn't get no backlash from any of them. They actually listened. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it may not have been a necessary life-changing moment, but it was a moment where a seed was planted.
Right.
And we take pride in that.
You ought to be a pastor.
Oh, Lord, nah, look, I'm too wild. I'm too wild. Nah. That's you. You Al Sharpton.
The Lord is still working.
Look, the world still
working.
He's still working on me too,
man. What he got planned, okay? He might call you in a minute.
That's you, Al Sharpton. That's you. You got it.
But I mean, cause hey, I get all up into it. Spending
you got
money
to.
in the black communities. Let's
got
stop
to
breaking bread with these white folks and. I mean, we ain't gonna go there just yet. But I'm just saying, bring them dollars back full circle. Let's build up. That's
Absolutely.
why we don't have grocery stores in our neighborhood.
Talk about
That's
it.
why they outsource everything.
Talk about it.
I mean, it's a food desert. Every black community,
yeah.
It's just we just got to get together outside of of course we do need to stop the violence, but they need wake up calls like all over.
Absolutely.
Have you had anybody reach out to you from another city that see what you're doing and try to get that going in their community?
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. We have people reach out to us all the time. Particularly, see, we just don't limit it to Winston-Salem.
Okay.
We actually say Winston-Salem and the surrounding triad area because people aren't solely affected; they're adversely affected in all demographics. So yeah, to answer your question, we have people all the time, and they are always willing to join and help us. And it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because my brother Richard, he can allude to this, he can attest to this as well, Keita.
Richard comes that I am.
Yeah, this is my co-founder, man. This is our co-founder, Mr. Richard Singletary. Let me tell you about this brother. He has been solely dedicated. He's been totally dedicated. And I know I'm going off the subject a little bit.
Oh, no,
but
good.
He's actually my son's godfather.
Okay.
We actually grew up together in the same neighborhood our entire lives. And there's not a time that I can't call on this man whenever we need something done. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to pass out flyers in a big project neighboring area, he with it. He down for it. No fear, no hesitation. And I thank God for this man all the time. And just to see him develop and grow, man, I just take a lot of pride in that, man, because you know what I'm saying, he's really attributing to the organization in a myriad of ways. And so you always gotta have that ride or die. Well, we can ride, but we ain't gotta die. But you know what I'm saying? You gotta have that rider with, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, we riding the same car. You got to die though.
Yeah. Why we got to die? We can ride out, but where we going?
So let me ask you this, being that y'all, came up in the same neighborhood together, have you guys ever been approached by gangs to join gangs at any point?
When we were coming up, it wasn't like that. We wasn't like that. As a matter of, as a matter of fact.
Get on my nerves. So
now we good.
That's
all right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, he trying to come on my SU hat, man. He trying to come on my alma mater, man. I don't really. Yeah, you know we in Greensboro, man. So you know that other school, that other HBCU here. So you know what I'm saying. He probably trying to tap my hat. Probably trying to tap my alma mater, man. He had that other school, man.
I didn't go there.
But we never had that. As a matter of fact, Keita, when we were coming up, yes, we did have dope dealers in our neighborhoods. But in the 80s and 90s, the dope dealers then, they were different. As a matter of fact, they were way different. It wasn't we're gonna recruit y'all so we can get y'all young men to come do what we doing. What they were doing, Keita, was they were keeping us off the streets. They were trying to tell us not to be a part of what they were doing. You know who funded us at our local recreation center? It wasn't the local city council. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the churches. It was the dope boys. They were the ones that bought us footballs and basketballs and kickballs and things like that at our local recreation center so that we can have something productive to do, so that we can get up out of there. And our parents actually, and you can attest to this, our parents actually respected them. Now, they didn't condone what they did, but they respected them because they had that sincere love and passion to see us as young men not to fall in the traps that they were. You know what I'm saying? And to answer your question from earlier, it's funny that we get more support from people outside of Winston-Salem than we do within the city. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. And I will go on record and say that, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, we need to get back to a point where we can support one another and be genuine about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think what you're doing is it's great.
Absolutely. Thank God. Praise
I
God.
mean, it takes somebody to plant the seed.
Hey, well, it's a bunch of us. It's a
Yeah.
few of us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it takes that.
Yes, ma'am.
So a seed had to be planted somewhere for it to be a bunch of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's great.
Thank you, man.
This is the type of stuff that that we need, and young folks really need to listen to.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody was on the phone.
Hey, side note, hey, I really like your hair, man. That thing, hey, you remind me of a Just For Me commercial. You know what I'm saying? Just for me. You know what I'm saying?
F-O-R-M-E.
Look,
That was Saturday morning commercial now. Soul Train,
please,
Just For Me,
yes,
and
yes.
Dark and Love that was coming on.
Oh, no,
all
not
the same time.
the Dark and Lovely.
Yes,
Yeah, you flipping
yes.
that thing. Go ahead and flip it one time.
I mean, 'cause
Hey,
you
make
know,
it whip. Hey, I
See,
like
when you
that.
invest in natural, that's when things happen for you. Won't he do it?
Yes, he will. Oh, you
Bless that
natural?
Scalp. Yes, this is natural.
Okay, 2 snaps in the net roll.
Okay, yes, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Hey,
That.
feel me?
Just
We
know
like that.
He has blessed his scalp. We had a caller. What'd they say?
Thank you.
Ain't with no caller. Promise didn't know. Okay, it was somebody on the air. They talking. Hello?
Boy, this
Hello?
water good, boy.
Is it me you're looking for? I'll hit you with that line of Richie.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey,
This Miss Georgia.
Richardson.
Okay, this is Miss Georgia. Miss Georgia, you can chime in. You got anything you want to add to this?
Hey, Miss Georgia.
I know you support.
I just think violence would stop. I son in 2012 in Winston-Salem. Washington, D.C. in 2007. So something like that wouldn't happen. And I just wish it would stop. It grieves me. I don't care what age it is. It still grieves me here of gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
Should no mother phone call in the morning that 17 years old and just graduated out of high school and had life in jail over a senseless killing. It should never be like that.
Right.
And I just wish it would stop.
I agree.
And I'm one of the ones, I don't care who it offends. I don't care who get mad or what I'm saying, but need to put the guns down.
Okay.
And I'm being straight 100 about it. Need to put the guns down.
Okay, yes. I agree.
Just
Put the guns down and square up if that's the case.
Just
You
so-
pull up on somebody.
just so you know, you're right, Keita. Just so you know, I know.
And I grew up in Washington, D.C. I grew up in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Oh,
I seen the violence. I grew up with the big drug dealer, Rafer Edmonds. I grew up with all of that. But it wasn't, back then we could fight and we back friends.
Right.
Now they want to pick up guns. It needs to stop.
Right. Yeah,
It
that's
needs
true.
to stop.
Yeah, I feel everything you're saying.
And I'm to the point, I'm with Richard, I'm with Corey. The violence needs to stop, seriously. Because it's taking innocent people too. It's not only it's taking a lot of innocent people.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
And it grieves me. And to know that parents are getting phone calls that their young kids are being killed, that's not good at all. It's not good.
Right. Well, I agree. I agree with everything that you're saying. So, with all that being said, what's your expectation for all of this? Like, what's the ultimate, outside of, I know it's to get folks to listen and, hopefully that changes somebody's direction, but do you have any, in the future, like any programs you're trying to develop for the area?
Well, hopefully, just in summary, we just want, as Miss Richardson alluded to, is just for people to come together. You know what I'm saying? So, because we, it's as simple as that. There's no philosophical or, great revelatory answer to give. We just want people to come together, especially, our people.
Right.
Our people, man. You know, we granted, as you talked about earlier, the nuance of social injustice. You know, with police killings or whatnot, taking innocent lives from people of color, that's a very, very big deal.
Right.
But it's even a bigger deal when we have communal genocide.
Right.
You know, I tell people all the time, do the math. You know, for every social injustice that may take place with somebody, when we commit the communal genocide, we do that times 10. And we're giving people exactly what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want to see us self-destruct. You know, I remember the line from Soul Food where Big Mama was talking to the grandkids in Soul Food. You know, she was saying that, you know, with one finger, you feeble. But as a family, and when we come together and we ball that fist, we powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, I gotta say it, man. But you know, people of color, you know, blacks, we the most intellectual and powerful species on the earth, straight like that. You know what I'm saying? And when we come together, things happen. But when we come together in a peaceful fashion, you know what I'm saying, and in a civil fashion, we really shake the universe, and that's real talk. That's real talk. So that's, you know, to answer your question, that's our ultimate hope, man, is that we can come together, man, so that we can live in serenity, man, because like she said, no parent should have to explain that. And I feel, you know, if this is going on right now for our millennial demographic, for our millennials right now, I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, my son is enrolling in kindergarten next year. He's got to be in class with somebody's son who happened to be the son of somebody who might be banging. You know what I'm saying? Who might be doing that stuff. So, I think about that. I think about our babies.
Yeah, kids are very impressionable.
Absolutely.
By the time they 3 or 4, you pretty much know what you're dealing with.
Exactly.
At this point.
Exactly.
So when I'm saying programs, I mean more or less on like some after school program developments. Like, are you guys at some point gonna work towards doing that, or are you doing that now?
We actually are doing that now. We're starting another program. We're actually gonna have a Stop the Gun Violence weekend. We actually this has actually been going viral. We actually want to implement this into our program. You said something earlier, just a few seconds ago, about squaring up. We got some guys that actually want to partner with us who are boxing trainers.
Oh, wow.
And so if you have a conflict with somebody,
Yeah.
okay, from another neighborhood or, you know, saying another gang or whatnot, like, instead of shooting off, like, y'all gonna shoot the one. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna come to the gym. It's a gym in Winston-Salem, 14th Street Recreation Center.
Okay.
It's a boxing gym in there, and y'all gonna duke it out and let that be there. You know what I'm saying? So as far as like after school programs, that's why we have our educators in the program to help us develop those nuances as well. So to answer your question, yes, we are working on that, and those things are in development right now.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Well, y'all need to bring this around here. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, we got the same problems.
Absolutely, man.
So oh God, I hate to say this with it sounding, I don't know if this sound racial or not, but do you notice like a flooding of like your Latinos or Mexicans in the area that you guys live in that's a part of, you know, the gang activity? And if so, how do you relate to them?
You know, we where I stay, he actually lived in used to live in the apartments where there is a large influx of the Hispanic community. And let me just say, to my Latin and Latina brothers and sisters, man, I love them. I love them. Like, they are like the dopest people ever, man. I love it. And they actually live right around the corner from where my son and I stay.
Okay.
And so as far as answering your question, like, it's how to relate to that, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, man. We just, you know, there may be a situation where we may have to get someone to literally translate, but the issues are still the same.
Right.
The issues are still the same, man, because we're all in the same area. We're all in the same neighboring community. And so that's why we have to have that open dialogue, albeit with African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasians who may live in that same neighboring area as well. You know what I'm saying? We got to have that open dialogue.
Got you. So do you have some that's a part of the organization?
Actually, at the moment, we don't. But you know what? You just gave us an idea. We need to start recruiting. We need to start doing that. Like,
bring them on in.
For real, yeah, man. We need to have everybody. Everybody's
Right.
voice is important.
Okay.
Everybody.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, you can get into what's going to happen on September the 1st, so kind of let the people know what to look forward to. You know, folks want to come out, you know, and join. Just let folks know what September the 1st actually is going to be about.
Okay, so people, Richard, myself, and we actually have a third co-founder. His name is Coach Corey Simmons. His name is Corey too. He actually grew up with my oldest sister in the neighborhood that we lived in before we moved to North Hills together in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So he works very, very closely with youth, at-risk youth, and he was actually, I ain't gonna lie, kid, I used to be a little wild when I was young. You know what I'm saying? So he was actually my mentor coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was kind of out there, but God,
Okay.
but God, you know what I'm
Want me
saying?
do it?
Yes, ma'am. He was actually my
Want me to
mentor. So yes, ma'am. So we were glad for him to come and be a part of, you know, what we were all trying to do. Project Ground Zero, real talk for a real time. The reason why we call this community initiative Project Ground Zero is because in order to be able to reach the masses, you gotta meet them where they are. That's how Jesus did it. That's how Dr. King did it. That's how Brother Malcolm did it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't sit behind the pews or whatnot. They got down and dirty, Keita. They got to where the people and where the problems were. And so, as I alluded to earlier, East Winston, that's Project Ground Z. That's Ground Zero for a lot of the homicides and the senseless gun violence are taking place. So what we decided to do, we wanted to meet at the recreation center, and the recreation center is actually adjacent to all the surrounding neighborhoods where these crimes are taking place.
Okay.
And so we're going to meet in the epicenter of that neighborhood, and we're just simply going to have an open discussion. I have not invited city council members. I have not invited preachers. And the reason why we did that is because we want to be real. We want to be raw. These people are getting too many politically correct answers and questions, and we just gotta keep it 100. And I'm sure, and I'm always mindful to tell my group, you know what I'm saying, listen, man, you gotta throw that English degree out the book. You know what I'm saying? Like when we talk to them, man, like they're not gonna understand innuendos and feel us all like, man, look, you gotta talk to them for real. You know what I'm saying?
With the big ass words.
You feel me?
Google what you
Nah, man, you know what I'm saying? And you gotta come humble, man. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna provide light refreshments. And like I said, we're just gonna have an open discussion. As you alluded to earlier about black businesses supporting one another, I'm actually gonna have some people bring out their vendors. So man, we just gonna have a good time. Yeah, a vast majority of the vendors, Keita, believe it or not, are actually children. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got a lot of young entrepreneurs in Winston-Salem. I'm talking about not even older than 12. It's dope, man, like for real. My girl Kiki Jones, she actually has a production company, you know what I'm saying, called Forever Jones Production. She actually just went down to New Orleans and they participated in the film festival and they actually won first place for independent film. Yeah, man. So the Triad area has a lot of things going on. My homeboy Jason Samuels, he has a t-shirt company called We Are Winston. He's going to be there. Mr. Brandon Horn, he actually has an event after us the following week for young entrepreneurs. His business is called Be Positive.
Okay.
So yeah, all of them, his son and Kiki's son, they actually have lemonade stands. And so they're actually going to come there. I'm going to ask them if they can come and be vendors at our event. And so, yeah, it not only gives us an opportunity to have an open discussion about senseless gun violence, but it also provides an avenue for black people to come together like we should.
Right. Well, you can count me in.
Hey!
I'll be there. Okay.
Okay. We got Holly Berry. Hey!
Pulling up on them.
Okay, we got Holly Berry. You know what I'm saying? Coming through.
I think it's for.
Do the hair flip, though, when you step.
When I get up in there. I'm gonna have to do it.
Hey, you gonna come for real?
Yes, I'm coming.
Okay,
yes,
hey, promise. You heard that.
You can count it in the move. We pulling up. We'll be at the event. I don't know if we're able to broadcast live or anything, and we'll figure that out. Huh? I mean, I don't know. We'll be outside.
They should. They should. Yeah, we'll get some Wi-Fi up in there. You know what I'm saying? We'll get some. We gonna make it happen, man.
They got connects. Wi-Fi. We're gonna do that. But yeah, I think it's really dope. What you guys are doing. I just keep pushing. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. Rubbing elbows and maybe telling some of the folks my testimony. You know, when the Lord calls a move, you gotta move, right? Hey, that's why this is called The Move.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
But Corey, Richard, it was a pleasure to have y'all.
Thank you for having us, man. We really
y'all
appreciate
more than
that.
welcome to come back. As more events are put together, feel free to reach out. Because we pull up and do our part.
Hey, look at if you can. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
I'm just gonna say, tell people to look us up. We do have a Facebook page.
Oh, yeah,
as
plug
well as
all that.
yeah,
Yeah, plug
and
all that.
Instagram, Facebook page, Rally Up Winston-Salem. Check us out.
All right, y'all heard it. Check it out. Rally Up Winston-Salem. Y'all already know what it is. It's the move. All right, black people unite. Let's all get down. I got to have it. Out to the people. Should have played Self-Destruction. That's the point when that should have
Oh yeah. That's my song. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hey.
I mean, we don't own the rights to it, but it's having a self-destruction movement going on. Niggas
All the
listening to his
people.
brain.
My boy KRS
He
One
didn't
set
even
it off.
It's too late. He didn't even have it.
Are we still?
Never mind.
Are we still live? Are we still live right now?
I don't know. Oh,
Okay. Well, listen, Keita. While we here, I
Okay.
wanted to give you one of our cards.
Okay.
I am a banker at Mechanics and Farmers
It's
Bank.
funny because we bank with them here.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah, Moore Boulevard.
Well,
They
look.
got one, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
okay,
we
that's
bank
what's
with
up.
them.
Hey, so M&F Bank, I'm gonna give everybody a card. Come support us.
No, because they've been talking to me about opening up an account, and I'm just
Come
like,
on. You say I referred you though.
say
Say I referred you to.
I'm gonna pull my card out.
Do
and
you?
be 'em.
I
You
like
got
that.
One. You got it. You're going to get one.
So you guys excuse me because I
Co-sign.
ain't in my work attire like promised. That's my guy, one of my really good friends. I know he used to see me in the shirt and tie, but I had to thug it. I had to thug it out a little bit today, man. You know what I'm saying?
Relax.
Yeah.
Just come how you come.
But we are the second oldest African American financial institution in the nation.
I know. I looked it
The
up
oldest
when
in
they
North
first
Carolina.
opened this one up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give everybody a card. Support black business. You know what I'm saying? Come bring your fiscal endeavors to M&F Bank.
Okay, what do car loans look like?
With the, I gotta get you to the right person to the car loans.
To the
you know.
right person.
Yeah, I
the
got
right
you.
person. I'll let y'all get mine real quick.
Hey, we
You
do
know,
that.
Hey,
Home
the struggle
mortgages.
is real. It's real. Killing me right now. I need to look.
Come on down, man.
Yes,
Come on.
I am. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna
do
pull my
it,
card
man.
out and say, "Bam." Corey said,
Bam.
"Y'all got me."
You got that. You got that. M&F Bank, baby.
Pull
Mechanics
up
and-
on them. That's
Yes,
what's
ma'am.
up. M&M
Appreciate
Bank.
that.
Yes, y'all go and support. They don't have one in Burlington or nothing. It's
Nah.
the only one.
Don't let them
Well,
flowers die.
My big, they ain't gonna die.
Don't let them die too quick.
No, we're gonna put them things in some water when we get to the house. Yes. But it has been a pleasure.
It's
having
been a
y'all
pleasure,
here.
yo,
And,
Sean, too.
we'll pick this up Saturday, September the 1st. Y'all already know what it is.
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend. 1501 Mount Zion Place, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27101. Y'all come on out and support. Yes, black people. Let's do it.
Lambo numbers.
Look at it. Yeah.
Look at you, now look at me. Now look at you, now look at you, now look at me, now look at me, now look at you. Now look at me, now look at you, now look at me, now look at you, now look at me, now look at you, now look at you, now look at